Yo, what's going on, everybody? As always, I hope everyone's having a blessed day. So in today's video, I will explain the evidence of afterlife and the fact that we are spiritual beings. Now, of all the claims that I've made and the videos that I've made, this one's just undeniable. So if you want to go against it, then you're just denying the truth. And anyway, let's dive in. So the evidence of this claim comes from near-death experiences, typically referred to as NDEs. These experiences have been scientifically verified. There's a book titled The Science of Near-Death Experiences by Jeffrey Long, and it is a collection of peer-reviewed experiences published by the University of Missouri Press. I have not been able to get my hands on this book personally just yet, but according to the summary, an estimated 10 million people in the U.S. have had one of these NDEs. According to an article titled Near-Death Experiences, Evidence for Their Reality by Jeffrey Long, published by the Missouri Medicine in 2014, about 17% of people who nearly die report having an NDE. NDEs are never exactly the same, but there are common characteristics shared among them. These common characteristics include a perception of seeing and hearing apart from the physical body, passing into or through a tunnel, encountering a mystical light, intense and generally positive emotions, a review of part or all of their prior life experiences, encountering deceased loved ones, and a choice to return to their earthly life. These NDEs happen to people from all walks of life, men, women, children, the religious, and the atheists alike. This is just astounding information, but what can actually be verified as real experiences are the out-of-body experiences, or the OBEs. According to the same article, about 45% of NDEs experience an OBE, where said person can see or hear outside of their physical body. There are accounts that you can watch all over YouTube, or you can look up the Near-Death Research Foundation and see more of these accounts. In these OBEs, people typically have an aerial view of their body. They can move around, and they can even phase through walls. Now, these people come back with information that they couldn't have possibly known, like hearing conversations while being clinically dead, visiting other patients' rooms and being able to accurately recite information, observe like someone getting a limb amputated, where the limb was taken and what it was put in. I've even heard of an account where this lady had an OBE where she saw the numbers on top of a medical device, and when she came to, she had the nurse write down the numbers. And once the nurse had time to check, sure enough, the numbers were an exact match. There are other experiences that happen, like shared experiences, where someone else in the room will have the same experience with the NDE, or a relative or friend will have a dream about the person dying and find out shortly after that the person that they dreamed about was in fact dead. Now, many people have tried to debunk these experiences as just phenomenon from the brain, but that just doesn't really make sense given the information that most OBEs come back with. Pam Reynolds' NDE experience alone refutes the claim that these experiences are caused by the brain. You can actually see her story on YouTube, but Pam Reynolds had a brain aneurysm where she needed brain surgery in order to have a chance at survival. During this process, the patient is put to sleep, the eyes are taped shut, there's a clicking device that is put in the ear in order to monitor brain activity, and all the blood is drawn out of the brain. She had no brain activity and no vitals. She was clinically dead at the time of her NDE. She, like other OBEs, had an aerial view above her body. She could recall a conversation from the nurse and the doctor about some trouble they were having during the operation, and she remembered the exact instruments that were used during her surgery. She then went on to have an experience being in God's presence and seeing dead relatives. That's just simply amazing. It's reported that most NDEers actually lose the fear of death and just look at the physical death as a gateway to the next step. This evidence does not prove any particular religion, but it does prove that there is an afterlife, and there is more to us and reality than the material world. Now, I've seen some people try to refute the evidence of near-death experiences by saying that most people who have a near-death experience don't see anything at all, so therefore we should just believe that nothing happens. But there are millions of these accounts. And it's also reported that a lot of people don't come forward because they fear that people are gonna think that they're nuts or anything. So the number of these events is probably far greater than what is estimated. Then, if we were also able to figure out how to trigger near-death experiences, it would definitely be something that would be abused. So I don't think it's something that we can just make happen. I think it's just a gift, an experience that is there for that person, whoever else sees, and for us to be able to look at and say, well, yeah, this is evidence of there being more than just this world. I actually also had my own experience, a semi out of body experience. Now, if you guys have watched my first video where I talk about demons and the spiritual attacks that I went through, there was this one time where I woke up in the middle of the night, went to go use the restroom, and I went and lay down. Right, and then as I'm laying down, I start to feel this thing kind of crawling on my legs, right? And I choose not to look at it. I choose to try to just ignore it because I heard that, if you just ignore it, then it'll go away. So I try to just ignore it and act like it wasn't there, like I was going to sleep. Of course, this thing knows I'm awake and can feel it and whatever. So instead of it just backing up, what it did was then it lifted my legs up. Now, this is the weirdest experience I've ever had because I knew my actual legs were still down, but I felt the sensation of my legs being like held up in the air like this. So like my chin and stuff, it's not like my chin was tucked into like my chest to allow my legs to be up in that position. Everything else was the same, but my legs were lifted up. Now again, I did not want to open my eyes and see whatever was in front of me doing this, but I knew my legs were up there. Well, I knew my legs were down, but I felt like my legs were up. So whatever it did, it separated my spirit legs, I guess, from my physical legs. So that's my own experience with that. I suggest that you guys look into it. If you have had an experience, please come forward and share it. Leave a comment. Share it with somebody. But I just want to thank you guys for listening. Atheists, I suggest that you pick up a Bible. And if you can take anything from this, don't fear death, because Jesus already conquered the grave. Amen.